years. The Danes resumed their onslaught in search of revenge. This time, Ethelred bought off the invaders with tens of thousands of pounds in silver, the infamous Danegeld. It was against this setting that Wulfnoth committed his treachery. Since the summer of 1006, the Danish fleet had been raiding the southeast coast of England. Ethelred called on one of his thanes, Edric, Earl of Mercia, to build an army and navy that would resist and deter the Danish raiders. In 1009, the fleet was assembled off the Kentish port of Sandwich, ready for the defence of the homelands, and one of the flotilla commanders in that fleet was Wulfnoth. So while the ships were waiting off Sandwich for the Danes to arrive, Wulfnoth was accused of treason, that is, making a threat against the throne. It is not known whether the accusation was well-founded or whether it was nothing more than intrigue, but whatever the truth, Wulfnoth escaped before he could be brought to trial. What happened to Wulfnoth is not clear, except that he was never reconciled with the court, and his considerable lands were confiscated and put under royal stewardship. But in 1014, King Ethelred's eldest son Ethelstan died, and in his will he left Wulfnoth's son Godwin his father's confiscated estate in Sussex. This fact offers 3 pointers to Godwin's position at this important time. First, Godwin's father, Wulfnoth, must either have been dead or still a fugitive. Second, although in the king's eyes Godwin was stained with his father's treason, he was not without very high friends at court, particularly the monarch's first son, the Atheling, or Prince Ethelstan. And third, this bequest must have betokened more than simple friendship. King Ethelred had 6 sons. 4 of them, including Ethelstan and Edmund Ironside, were from his first marriage. 2, Edward and Alfred, were by his second wife, Emma of Normandy. The 2 families of brothers were manoeuvring for the throne of their father Ethelred. Godwin was in Ethelstan's camp. Godwin perhaps needed little encouragement. The restoration of his father's lands on Ethelstan's death, only 5 years after their confiscation, was more than payment for his services. With the estates came the right to raise forces for his patron, and after Ethelstan's death, Godwin's patron became the young Edmund, just 21 years of age. It was a political alliance of some importance, and not a little danger. By 1015, Edmund, together with his allies, was now irrevocably opposed to his father. Worse for both of them, Canute had invaded England. Opposition to the Danes was weak. Godwin had no choice but to remain with Edmund. Ethelred, who had been ill for some months, died on the 23rd of April, 1016. Edmund, quite likely with Godwin at his side, claimed the throne. 1016 was the year of the 6 great battles for control of Saxon England. On November the 30th, Edmund died. Within a year of Canute taking the English throne, he had executed almost all those who had held power under Ethelred and his son Edmund. Then why should Godwin survive? There are 2 possible explanations. Either Godwin had not fought against Canute, or Canute must have found something in Godwin which appealed to him, or which was to the king's advantage. Godwin is not mentioned as having changed sides, and Godwin's loyalty to Edmund may have been something which Canute admired. Canute now had his trusted Scandinavians in key positions of power. His brothers-in-law were now the 4 powerful earls in England. They had no following in England, and so they were beholden to the king. It would have been a shrewd move by Canute to place certain former enemies in powerful positions, just as he was shrewd enough immediately to marry Ethelred's widow, Emma of Normandy. Godwin fitted this plan, especially as someone had to gather payment for the battles that year. He who raises taxes for the monarch is likely to be very much in favour. Besides, having Godwin raise revenue, especially in Wessex, showed the people that this was not a total Danish takeover, even though it was, of course. Godwin's reward was the earldom of Middle Wessex. By Canute's time, the title of Earl had come to refer to a nobleman appointed by the king to rule in his name over a shire or group of shires. So the fact that Godwin is described as an earl reveals that he is now important.